Morning, what is up, folks? JT here with another Chart Talk Live. It is Tuesday, December the 23rd. We are in the week of Christmas. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're excited for the holiday break coming up. Give us all a chance to reconnect with some folks that we haven't seen in a while. Take some time away from staring at the markets constantly. Make sure you are taking these opportunities when there's not a whole lot you can do except for maybe be studying and charting. But even still, mental breaks are important every once in a while. So make sure you use this time of year to afford yourself a good mental reset, recharge those batteries, get ready to attack 2026 with full vigor. All right, let me get my screen sharing started. All right, that's good. YouTube looks good. Broadcast is up. ES is up. Let me get one last thing out here. Could be a quiet one today. We could have a lot of people traveling, starting to wind down for the holidays. So let's get over to the chat. Can we check hymns today? Sure, we can check that for you, new trader. Hope you're doing well. What's up, Brandon? Brandon? Hope you all are doing well. Again, it could wind up being a relatively quiet one here today, with it being Christmas Eve tomorrow and people traveling, maybe not totally focusing on the markets these few days, which, like I said, is totally cool, totally makes sense. What's up, Laylo? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's going to be slow, I think, but doesn't hurt for us to have plans. Make sure you buy plenty of time on your contracts. Let things start to play out into the close of this year and into the beginning of next year. Um, and we'll see the volatility and volume and activity all start to tick up pretty heavily, and we might find ourselves in some great positions for when that does kick off. What's up, Sydney, aka Ryan? Hope you're doing well. All right. So yeah, from an ES perspective, things are looking pretty bullish. We did have that inverse head and shoulders pattern. It eventually broke a downtrend that I, of course, just deleted a second ago. But it was sitting, where was it sitting? It's sitting right about here, I think. Somewhere around there. Yeah. Oh no, here we go. Stop right here. So it was sitting right about there. Gave us the breakout, almost a little bit of a back test. We've since pushed higher over the 333 here. Got the both the 200 and the 333 starting to curl up over NTS sell pressure here. Maybe even back testing that prior level at 69.19 as some support as we try to grind higher and head back towards 69.70. That seems to be the ultimate target as long as we're holding up in these areas before I think we see any massive resistance again. So again, overall things looking bullish, but it could be a slow, choppy grind these next few days with all the holidays coming through and a lot of traders stepping away from the markets to spend time with family, which is, again, something good to do and forces us to recharge our batteries at least every once in a while. Fear and Greed Index says we're in greed again. Let's see. When are we not greedy? It's the United States. Yeah, we're in greed, but it's not extreme greed. It's kind of even to the lower end of greed, close to neutral. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that this would be a buy fear, sell greed reading yet. Um, I think it's, yeah, just people trying to get positioned for what they think is going to run strong in 2026. Price breath is still showing some fear. Interesting heavy greed for safe haven and junk bonds though, so that may not be a great sign for equities. Yeah, that's a great tool that Brandon just shared with you all. So Make sure you do bookmark that. Fear and greed index can tell you a lot about what's going on with the markets. So yeah, make sure you are checking that out. What's up, Navy Plum? Good to see you. What's up, Sal? I think I've said good morning to everybody who's here at this point. All right, so let's get over to some trade plan recaps, and then we'll work on some of these new ticker requests that we've received here this morning. So we'll start off with Roku. Roku we did last Tuesday on the 16th, a week ago from today. We were calling this one to go short because nobody could make heads or tails of why it had gapped up like 5% when the rest of the market was looking kind of rough. Sure enough, it did pull back to fill that gap and even went down as far as to get very close. What was the low of that candle? 47. And what was our level? 17. So we're 30 cents off of that low there on Roku. It's since bounced and really kind of gotten the sideways choppy accumulation. Keeps running up against that put entry and finding resistance. One thing that I'll note about Roku that I noticed the other day when I realized it wasn't moving all that fast is the volume on this has dropped off significantly. It's sub 3 million. I don't know. I don't recall what it used to trade in, but it used to trade a lot higher than that. So that's why things tend to move a little slower, a little choppier, and really aren't making strong moves above or below key supports or resistances. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this, but so far it's a pretty close, or at least one PT, if not a couple, if you took profits right there, getting close to that approach on PT2 for puts achieved. And again, when that happens, you should have your stops moved up to, at the very worst, break even, so all this nonsense on any remaining contracts you might have been holding doesn't do any damage to the profits that you did take. So that's Roku, and where it's been moving. Silver is finally making it to our third price target. It's been a meticulous, machine-driven push to the upside here. What are we at this morning? Testing it just a little bit high, 64 on the dot, so we were off by 2 cents on this high. But yeah, so I would call that all price targets hit clearly here on silver. Again, did give us a gap up over the call entry, then it came back down, got very close to testing the call entry, but had a couple of other things in the way there that kept it from getting that full touch and retest with the 200 SMA here. And this trend line that pretty much every time it's touched this trend line, it's led to new highs going back quite a ways. So, yep, silver plan complete, all upside targets hit. Congrats if you followed it, and congrats if you were even patient enough to wait for this back test and some of this gap to fill versus chasing that gap up, although it did lead to PT1 intraday there. I still like to let those trades come to me. There's not a whole lot supporting that continuation up there until we get back down to this 200 SMA, and then we get that additional support that we can use to push higher. So silver trade plan worked out beautifully. NVIDIA we did last Tuesday as well. NVIDIA did play out for all of our downside targets, gave us some sweeps below, but no real strong closes below. Obviously, we had that key support wired there at 170.93. From there, it has broken out of the downtrend. And as soon as it broke out of that, it went right into a bull flag and ripped all the way up to PT2 plus. Seems to be struggling with PT2 as a little bit of resistance here this morning. Might be coming back to fill this gap and retest PT1, at which point we could see it bounce on that gap fill. If it doesn't bounce there, then could retrace all the way back to the call entry and test down near this 200-333 combo that's sitting just above. Meta, we also did last Thursday. This one ran straight up to PT1, came back, ran up to PT1, came back, ran up to PT1. So multiple shots at play in this one. It has ultimately held the stop loss average down, getting some help from the 200 SMA right there here on the hourly chart for Meta. It does look to be rejecting our call entry here this morning. And looking like it might want to pull back and test that 200 with the SL average down on the call side there, Confluence. So looking pretty choppy, but it is providing some quick profit opportunities if you lock them in and don't look back. And then last but not least, we did Now. This one I think was for Panikin, asked for Now. So we did this last Thursday out of the gates, went down to PT1 for puts there. For us on Thursday, it's been trying to bounce ever since. We've seen some sweeps below, but ultimately the candles seem to be consolidating and finding higher highs within this range. It's kind of slow and choppy, but that's the direction it seems to be heading back in, at least for now. Now, of course, if we break back below the put entry, there at 154.91, I think we could see this little bit of momentum roll over. And that could lead to some of those downside targets, PT1, if not possibly PT2 or more. But again, based on what we saw last time at PT1, I would certainly be scaling out heavily there and moving up my stops aggressively. All right, those are our trade plan recaps. Let's get to some new trade plans. We've got HIMS from New Trader. Let's take a look at HIMS. All right, HIMS. It's a little bit beat up. It's not the end of the world. Zoom out on this a bit here. Definitely looks like it's got a bit of a downtrend establishing here. So I'll get on that. Actually, could play it there. That gets it some better, cleaner touches. Might also, let's just see, this is far from confirmed. Yeah, it probably also has a little bit of a uptrend that it's trying to put in here. We do have 1, 2, 3 touches off that, getting close to another one here this morning, so we'll keep an eye on that as we go to plan this out. We definitely want it to be well clear of this downtrend. Although that would be through 35.96. Kind of window of opportunity does that open up though? 37.28. Trying to figure out if we go in a little potentially early and aggressively scale out for profits. Yeah, I think there's a decent little window of opportunity here. The question, our next question is, what does that mean for our stop loss? I'm looking at an entry, sorry. Should have been clear about this. Over. Pretty good with where that is, actually. $34.87's been trying to hold. Go ahead and mark this just to see. Yeah, that works. Okay, so we've got a decent stop loss. Again, a bit of an aggressive first profit take. Next batch of profits definitely looks like it should be happening right up in this neck of the woods. Let's see. Yeah, I agree with that still. I put it at, I would actually make that just a little bit lower. Sorry, take that back. Right about there. All right, third target. Yeah, I'd have it right about here. Might be getting us out a tad early, but that's okay. Nobody ever went broke selling for profit, right? Yeah, cash secured put might not be a bad approach to this. I'm sure the IV is probably fairly elevated, which would make premiums nice and juicy. Now the question becomes, where does the downside get interesting? Yep, I think below this looks like let's start to get pretty interesting. Should take it down to about this 31.94 level. That up a little bit. Looking for a bigger downside move to PT2, but then I saw it's probably getting a little bit greedy. PT3 down to here at 28.66. All right, we got ourselves a plan for HIMS. So let's get this locked in. Whoops. Seven. It's a shared stop loss average down. That looks good. Let me clean up this chart real quick. Oh boy. Let's need some organization. Just saw the rest of them. Down here. All right, so let's get this to where this is nice and easy to see. All right, perfect. Let's go. Here comes your HIMS live stream plan. Get this posted over in the Elite chat so we can set our alerts. Here's the last one of these we did. Come on. Looking. There we go. That's what I needed. All right, so here comes the HIMS trade plan. Let's get that link. Right, and then last but not least, lock in our template. All right, so we're locked in. We got our alert set. Let's talk through this real quick. What are we looking for here on HIMS? We're looking for it to break over 35.96. That should bring targets at 37.25, 38.58, and 40.26 with a stop loss average down at 34.87. To the downside, we're waiting for 33.53 to break as support. Below that, we're looking for targets at, wait a second, that's not right. Why does, oh, hang on. Fix one thing here. Yeah, type something wrong in there. It's like that call plan is not negative 0.44. Okay, cool. I was looking at my little table up there on the right. I was like, that's not right. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 33.53. That should bring targets at 31.94, 30.23, and 28.66 with a shared stop loss average down with that upside trade plan there at 34.87. Those are your HIMS live stream plans. Let's go. All right, let's get back to the chat. What did we have next in the mix? Good morning to everybody who's joined since I started working on that plan. Hope you all are doing well. Apple. Sydney wants to take a look at Apple. Clearly, I have some levels to add in this range. All right, sorry, I was just looking at my fib extensions over there, seeing how those have been working out. Yeah, I can definitely, Apple's been picking some ranges that it likes to get real choppy in. Is this level sit? Yeah, probably is right about here. So make that little adjustment right there. Yep. Okay. So, what do we want to do with you, Apple? Pretty clean trend there so far to the downside. Riding the 200 up to the upside here, finding support at it. So if this does break and make a move, I'll be watching for this 273.90 to be a good confirmation that we can push a little higher. I definitely know I want this 276.54 as a first price target. My only question is this stop loss average down. Yeah, like right about there, actually. Could tighten it up. Give us some better risk reward on the trade. For more price targets. second PT. Third target. I mean, there's definitely some choppiness in the way. But I think it'd be worth taking a shot. Make sure you're moving your stops up the whole way to see if Apple can't make a bigger move over that 278 level on up to PT3 for calls there at 283.44. So anyway, that's how I'd cut it. So the downside, this level's just a tiny bit low. Yeah. Same thing, we're gonna run a tight stop on this. Oops, wrong thing. There we go. Third target. Nothing helpful back there. Could see this becoming a decent level, especially with the 4-hour 333 coming up right about there. So we're gonna go with that. All right, so let's get these levels dialed in to our plan. So we're going for a break over 273.90. Bro, what are you doing this morning? That looks pretty good, right? Looks even better there. All right, let's style this in. Comes the Apple streaming plan. And let's get this posted in the Elite chat so we can do our alerts. Okay. All right, we've got this Apple plan locked in. We've got our alert set. We've got the template laid out. So let's talk through this one last time. What are we looking for here on Apple? We're looking for it to break over 273.90. That should bring price targets up at 276.54, 278.88, and 283.44 with a stop loss average down at 271.93. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 270.02. That should bring price targets at 267.05, 263.99, and 260.69 with a shared stop loss average down with that upside trade plan there at 271.93. Let's go. Can we agree? Yeah, sure. We can take a look at Webull. This will be our last one for this morning. Appreciate everybody joining on what I know was going to be a slower day, slower week, especially the day before Christmas Eve. This is the time of year where I start laying out all the booby traps in case somebody tries to rob my house. Be ready. I've got paint cans on strings, flamethrower right inside the door, BB gun locked and loaded. Don't want to mess with my house. Made friends with the creepy old guy that shovels snow, just in case. I'm ready. Broke into my older brother's room. Took all the allowance he had been saving up. Had to go get a toothbrush that I didn't pay for by accident. My bad. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I did miss the flight. Well, I didn't so much miss the flight as I made my family disappear. And don't let me, oh gosh, don't even remind me about Christmas after that. I did not miss my flight. I just got on the wrong plane. It's nuts. But I had a good time in New York. Still don't know what my dad does to be able to afford all these first class trips everywhere, and I can still run his credit card up at the Plaza Hotel without going over the limit. Gotta watch out for that. Peter McAllister. Definitely, yeah, in some kind of sales, medical device sales. All right. Let's see. Webull. What are we gonna do with you? It's trying to break out. It's not succeeding, but it's trying. Definitely see this being a useful window of opportunity here. I'm just a little bit torn on where the stop loss average down needs to sit. Let's go. Let's go to the Wayback Machine. Never mind. We don't have any price action down that low. Gosh, I thought Webull had tested through these ranges at some point prior to this, but I was wrong. Okay, well, we'll use the little bit of data we got. Right there, honestly. Webull's been looking quite shaky. second upside target, which we might not make it to given that confluence of resistance right there, but that's going to move down and could be closer to PT1 depending on how all this plays out. So we'll go with PT2 being there at 995. Over that, I think it takes a shot 1060 again. Hopefully it can move back over. Tired holding these Weeble shares. All right, so the other interesting thing, conundrum that this puts us in, what pre-market there, that's the low down there at 759. There have been a few fake outs below this level. It's the only reason I'm concerned about using that as the entry. All right, let's take a shot at this. I have our stop losses kind of crisscrossing. Okay, that does it. All right, so let's take a look at how that stacks up from a trade planning perspective. Wrong indicator. 60, 60, 1, yeah, I was gonna say I'm a little bit worried about this downside plan. The risk reward on it's very iffy the whole way through. So just be mindful of that. There's a lot of tight areas of support that I'd be shocked to see if some of those didn't hold, or would be surprised to see new all-time lows on Weeble, but being surprised is part of the game. All right, what am I doing? I hide my levels. That's what I need to do. There we go. Let's try this on the chart. Give us a little bit more room. All right, here comes your full live stream plan. Let's post it over the elite chat. And let's get our message link. And alert set. All right, what are we looking for here on Webull? We're looking for a break over 904. That should bring targets at 951, 995, and 1060 with a stop loss average down at 868. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 851. That should bring targets at 818, 793, and 759 with a stop loss average down there at 885. Again, be cautious with this downside trade plan. Risk reward not looking great for downside. Doesn't mean it won't play out, but it's just lots of small moves available before we hit key price levels once we get below a decent confirmation there below 851. So just, again, trade cautiously to the downside. Not saying it won't play out, but risk reward is not nearly as good as it is for the upside trade plan if and when we get a confirmation going that way. All right, we're getting pretty close to market open here. I'll take a little bit of extra time to do the SPY plan this morning. We do have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day tomorrow and the following. So I really want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I hope Santa brings you all the toys and that your families have a wonderful holiday season together. This will be our last Chart Talk Live. Obviously, markets closed Thursday. I'll be closed for Thursday. Yeah, I think it's a half day tomorrow in the markets. So use the time off to recharge your batteries, enjoy some time with family, get away from the computer screen for a little bit, go outside, touch some grass if it's warm enough in your neck of the woods, or go outside and play in some snow if it's not. We will be back next Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our last Chart Talk Live of 2025. And then it'll be on to 2026 where we're going to go kick some serious ass. So until then, I want to thank you all so much for joining me again. Have a very Merry Christmas and a safe holiday with your loved ones. As we always say here on Chart Talk Live, plan your trades, trade your plans. Remember, we're looking for profits, not perfection. So keep those wins big, keep those losses small. Go out there, get some green. Have a great day. I will see you all in the chats, and I'll see you back here next Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, take care. Have a Merry Christmas.